I am Mandy.
We are here today to talk about topics that allow you to land well in Europe, or the human side of building a life abroad and landing well.
And today we thought we would talk to you about what does success look like. And I find this a really interesting subject, if you like, about defining success, because I probably don't plan what success might look like for me or think about it in advance. I'm quite often the person who they have an idea, they kind of think, yeah, this looks good and it makes sense, so let's get on and do it, and then we'll work it out along the way. So I'm really interested in kind of having this conversation with Camilla so that we can think about actually how I might do that and learn to do that more in the future.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, if I look at myself, I'm the kind of person who needs to plan all the worst case scenarios with everything. So in a way, we're the polar opposites, which could be good in this case because we're having a conversation to learn together, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And maybe people can align with either one of us, yeah, or both.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Oh, great. So I kind of, for me, I kind of wonder why it matters. Why should we think about what success might look like for us when we relocate?
Mm.
Any thoughts to kick us off?
Well, how can we succeed if we don't know what it looks like? If most often we do have an image of something, but is it our image? Is it someone else's image? Um, is it a realistic image of what that future might look like? So I'd say that being quite clear with yourself and taking that time to look at
Yeah,
what is it I want? Why am I doing this?
yeah,
Is
yeah.
important.
So interesting. Because when you talk about other people's image of what your life abroad might look like. I've got so many examples. Particularly, we have a foot in two camps is kind of how I call it. So we're in the UK and in France. And when I'm working, it's a normal day for me in France. So you get up, you walk the dogs, and then you turn on the computer and start your day with emails and meetings, what have you. People ask, "Oh, where are you at the moment?" And if you say, I'm in France, they automatically think it's, oh, that's great for you. So it's a holiday.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, this is just, this is, I could be, you could be anywhere, isn't it? But yeah, I am, no, I am working today and it is not really everyday kind of holiday kind of vibes. But I loved what Louise had said when we met her on her podcast, that she said, yeah, but Mandy, it's every day with Apero, which I think potentially I'll have to adjust my mindset on that one. But yeah, so other people have a vision, don't they, of
Mm.
if you're living abroad, what that might look like. And you know, the maybe it's the Instagram appeal, maybe it is that Emily in Paris kind of
Mhm.
lifestyle, and there's those kind of things that crop up for people. And I also think culture as well is a very interesting area. I
Mhm.
wondered if you had any thoughts around the influence of culture and when we separate ourselves from where we're raised.
Yeah, I do think it matters. There, I don't know if it matters at the very first instance,
Yeah.
but when we start to immerse into the culture as well, we do get conflicted, I think, because all of a sudden we have differing values that are playing into what life should look like. For example, something that I've come across, I'm from the north of Scandinavia, where most women, or both partners work, and when you move abroad, at least when I've moved with kids before, I've been judged because I haven't been working initially, right? Now then, you can, I mean, there's a lot of things you can ask about that, but it's difficult to move, and sometimes it's just that there's an image that you really have to struggle with, and
Yeah.
going back to that, um, it's Aperol every day. Do you want to have Aperol every day?
Yeah.
Decide, maybe you don't know, but at least deciding something about what you would like it to look like in the short term and in the long term.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, perfect sense. Absolutely. I think that's a great it's a great point. Like you may not want Aperol every day. I don't.
No.
Really don't. But it's lovely when that happens and it's a beautiful tradition, particularly it's in France particularly. I don't know if it's something in Italy, I'm sure it is. But yeah, so it is something about what does my life look like when I'm there and having a view and perspective on that to then go, yeah, that's the kind of life I want. And is that then how I will define a success in my
Yeah.
relocation?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at was I successful, which cultures do, don't they? In some
Mm.
cultural ways, it's around the job that you have is a sign of your success. But actually, we're looking at success of what does it feel like
Yeah.
when we think, yeah, that move was successful. Actually, me relocating, me landing well looks like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. And really, I mean, in a way, you have to be specific because it's
Yeah.
the feeling of what the day has been like. Do I feel guilty
Yeah.
when I'm having a slow day, relaxing, just exploring things? Um, because I've been judging myself my whole life from being busy, from walking
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my dream was to move slowly, if
Yeah.
that is how we describe it. But then we judge ourselves for that.
Yeah.
That can really play a part as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think that touches on a another point around if I like to be busy and if I am someone who's constantly doing something, and that if I need to slow down and I don't know, take a pause and sit and have a coffee in the garden and enjoy the sun, then am I now not being me, or do I feel guilty about that? That's
Yeah.
kind of where I was thinking with that. And there's something for me around, but that was the life I was aspiring to. That
Mm.
I wanted to kind of get away from the rat race and from the London life or whatever, so that we can ease ourselves into that. And so
Mm.
there's some self-compassion that's required in there as well as kind of, well, actually, but this is kind of what you're aiming for. So we can't feel guilty for it.
Mm.
Just
Mm.
enjoy it, but enjoy it in a way that feels like you
Yeah.
and feels like it's part of you.
Then there's also that thing that perhaps we had a dream, we had a vision of something,
Yeah.
and then we realized that, hey, I don't enjoy this. I
Yeah.
actually like being busier,
Yeah.
perhaps not as busy as I used to be,
Yeah.
but just giving yourself that space and perhaps that compassion then to say, hey, I'm learning something new about myself. I
Yeah.
really don't like to go too slowly. So, what can I then put into my day to find a balance so that I can still live my dream? I'm just making it
Yeah.
to that new version of me that I just discovered I am.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Can I share there's a scenario that comes to mind for us, and somebody in France commented on it recently. So we moved from London, which I'd lived in London for 27 years or so, and then came to the countryside. And I grew up in the countryside in Ireland, and yeah, it was great.
Mm.
Growing up as kids is brilliant. Yeah, it's really good. And I never quite settled in the countryside in Kent. Never
Mm.
quite kind of, uh, it's fine, but it's quiet.
Mm.
It's quiet. And we always, when we bought our property in France, we were living in London at the time. We had some parameters on our list, such as we want to be able to walk home from a restaurant, da, da, da. And we were in our expat community, we were quite unusual in that sense that we bought a house in the town
Mm.
and not actually in the countryside with space and swimming pool and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't really think much of it, but someone commented recently and said, yeah, but city life is really you, isn't it? And I just thought, oh, a great observation, because I love the countryside and I absolutely love nature and there's uh, lots to really enjoy here. But actually, the access to things, being able to go out, and that kind of busyness in our lives, we absolutely love and we thrive on. So you're absolutely right. You just got to really know yourself. You got to know what kind of helps you tick and helps you enjoy the world around you. And if it is a quieter life, then you might look for some space. But if it's you like to be still a bit busy, so whether that's being able to walk to the square for a glass of wine on a nice evening is yeah, is pure joy.
Yeah.
So for us, yeah.
Yeah. And there's something as well about perhaps if you don't know when you want to explore, perhaps you don't have to buy a property straight away. You could even rent something for
Yeah.
6 months or a year, even to try different kinds of lives in
Yeah.
that country.
Yeah.
If the country is new to you,
Yeah. Yeah. And
as
the
well.
location.
Yeah.
Because I see on Facebook quite a lot people are asking, we're just looking at regions and tell us why you love your region. Of course, then the chat is just full of great things. I always chuck in stuff around us. But it's just I love that idea because I think going and trying out different places is a really nice way of kind of really seeing what works for you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's really good.
And I think there's also that because some people also want to work, right?
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes if you choose a smaller area, will there be jobs
Yeah.
uh, available? So really thinking through your list of things. It's not just an image, making it realistic again, depending
Yeah.
on what you want to be part of that life that you have,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And I think considerations like anywhere you go is your connections, your connectivity. So if you work online and work from home, all those little things become part of that too. So how much accessibility you have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
I wondered what internal measures. So what are the internal markers for us that help us define success? So you can always look at those external factors of where you live and the types of people you want to be around and what that day-to-day life might look like. But I wondered, Camilla, if you had any thoughts on what things we should think about in our internal factors for
Mm.
success.
And I think that is so individual
Yeah,
in a way, because you really
absolutely.
have to know what you value.
Mm.
But I mean, for me, internal success is feeling calm and at peace. But
Yeah.
that's me. Um, but what gives me that? Is that what you were looking
Yeah.
for, Mandy?
Yeah. I get that it is personal. I suppose, is it a feeling? Is it is there a conversation with yourself? Is
Mm.
there if there was nobody else around, how would you define your own success? I think
Mm.
part of it makes me think about moving from working with a large organization with a really good reputation to then going independent.
Mm.
So I was, in a way, any piece of work or project that we led and kind of strategy meetings, things like that, that you had a big organization behind you that kind of felt like it props you up. But when
Mm.
you are kind of not surrounded by all of that and you're independent, you kind of you're there on your own and you're there trying to define your own successes, I suppose, and define kind of what it is that you want to do for you,
Yeah.
more so than working to somebody else's. It's back to that other question, somebody else's vision of success. But yeah,
Isn't it so funny how we go back to the external vision
yeah,
so often about
yeah,
how others see you,
yeah,
and your success, but
yeah,
um, and I must admit that it is different for all of us, right? But going back to that honesty to yourself about what do I want to do? Do I want to sit here and read a book and just feel like I'm at peace, or do I want to keep on doing stuff at a slower pace? But in the end, it's about, when you sit back at the end of the day, if you feel that, wow, this was a perfect day. It doesn't matter what you have done, but you just feel that contentment,
Yeah.
not your thoughts spinning around, asking yourself if you've done something wrong, but you actually feel like this is what I wanted to do today, and
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. I think do you know, it makes me think about there was something I saw recently on social media, and it was in so the post was good. It's all about somebody kind of making the move, and the post comment section went into a little bit of a drift of people leaving after only a few weeks or a few months. Um, I couldn't take it. I couldn't do it. Do you think there was something missing? I know that this is kind of without context, so
Mm.
we're not really sure, but is there something about knowing your internal factors for success to support you to kind of settle and kind of is landing well, but it is kind of settling as well because these people have left. They left after one person said they left after 3 weeks, and all of their stuff still hadn't landed and hadn't arrived, and they thought, no, this is not for me, and then they went back, which could be legitimate. It could be true, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But I just wondered maybe there wasn't an internal narrative
Mhm.
maybe missing from that, and
Yeah. I mean, there's something about not doing the research and not
yeah,
being realistic about what you're getting yourself into.
yeah,
Not understanding the place that you're actually moving to.
yeah,
Some people think they are going to be on holiday.
yeah.
And of course, when
This
you're
is
moving
it.
to a place, there
Yeah.
is reality, there is a everyday life and routines and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so doing the research is
Yeah,
important, right?
yeah,
Um, then being honest with yourself. If perhaps, I mean, people relocate when they're retiring as well.
yeah.
Um, and there's a huge shift in life, right? So it's not, in that case, it might be about the country. It might be about the change in your life,
Yeah,
but you blame it on the location that you've chosen because it's easier, right, to say
yeah,
that
yeah,
there's
yeah,
something wrong with that.
yeah,
So yeah, really, really being honest with yourself
yeah,
about what's going on in my life.
mm,
Why do I want to move? But
yeah,
also really looking at that place and saying, is it even possible
yeah,
to achieve what I'm looking for in that place?
yeah, exactly. It reminds me of I had a coach client recently who is looking at changing jobs and what they do for their career. Do they become an independent consultant or do they stay with an organization? And I asked him a question that he ended up writing about on LinkedIn. And so it obviously resonated with him. But it's kind of what am I running away from and what am
Mm.
I running to? And when we had the discussion, I wanted to kind of understand we're running away from good things as well as bad. So if I am I running away from something that actually I really value that,
Mhm.
but there's the bad stuff actually is bigger and that's
Mhm.
harder and that's the bit I need to leave.
Mhm.
And what am I running towards? And
Mhm.
it might be that you're running towards an idealistic kind of quieter pace of life, as we were talking about earlier, that kind of whole peaceful, slower living culture. But actually your mind is still on the go, go, go. And what is negative about that? We have to kind of understand both sides of it, of what we're running away from and running towards.
Exactly. And I would say if it's 3 weeks, I'm sorry if anyone gets offended, but I do think it might be something around perhaps not having done the research about the
Yeah,
place, because
yeah,
that is a short window to give
yeah,
a new country.
yeah.
I would say that usually 6 months in,
Mm.
people start to question things because
Yes.
it might have been, you're getting over that honeymoon phase
Mm.
and it's becoming a little bit challenging, and it might get really lonely before you've actually made new friends you can rely on. So most people start to doubt their decision about 6 to 12 months in. That's a quite,
Yeah.
statistically,
Yeah.
that is a
Yeah.
more challenging
That makes
period.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense because it's too expensive to do it less than that and not to give it at least a year.
Yeah.
And a year is not really a lot. And I do know people who, friend who's Irish, who went back to Ireland and they stayed a year and decided, no, we want to go back to the UK because it rained every day, never mind anything else. So it's just kind of like, oh, I'm fed up with this. But yeah, you really kind of, but then you feel like you've given it a chance. You've given
Yeah.
it the opportunity. I also kind of think the other side of it where people may, make the decision and move and then decide this is not me is that flexible success. Actually, for some, that might be a success measure too. It's kind of like, oh, I thought I wanted it, I don't. And do I know more about myself now as I make those changes, whether it's returning to your home country or whatever. So being flexible isn't a bad thing either. And it's not that you completely failed.
Absolutely not. It's about bringing that growth mindset and feeling, well, because if you didn't do it, you'd spend the rest of your life sort of wondering if you should have done it, if that would have given you something else. If you
Yeah.
try it and go back, you can say, I tried it. It
Yeah.
it wasn't my thing. And now I can live peacefully,
Yeah.
wherever I came from because I tried. I gave it that chance, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've covered what success looks like in this conversation quite well, Mandy. We obviously would like to hear from anyone listening.
Yeah.
If there's something that we missed out or something that you're curious about, any questions, comments, please get in touch
Yeah.
and we'll have another conversation.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and always in these conversations summarize what we've talked about in 3 points for you to take away, whoever is listening.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that taking time to frame what success looks like for you
Mhm.
is one important point.
Yeah.
Um, Being honest with yourself and doing the research so that whatever it is you're hoping to achieve is realistic in the
Yeah.
place that you're going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Cost of living, what's accessible, not accessible, what do you need? Like we mentioned earlier, if you are naturally introverted, but you still like people and company, how can that may be a success for you? So how would you create that
Yeah.
for yourself? So yeah, no, I like that. And I love the being honest with yourself and
Mhm.
that kind of actually just knowing yourself and knowing what it is that you want and not that whole Instagram, social media imagery and picture of, well, you could sit at a cafe every day with a coffee and a croissant.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
if that's what you want, yeah. But also just being honest with yourself as to, what would I do if I'm bored on a Tuesday afternoon, and things look a bit different or feel a bit different, what is it that I need?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, it's
Thank
great to
you for
have you.
listening.
Yeah, thanks very much. And yeah, and as Camilla said, just send us your questions, thoughts, comments, and if you'd like a question to feature on one of our future episodes, yeah, just let us know and we'll add it in. Thank you for watching and for listening. Take care.
Thanks.